Hello. Hopefully everything is working. What's up, Lord Blood Sith? How's the music volume compared to my voice? Sounds great. I lowered it a little bit. Little loud, not too loud. You know, I put on some Halloween themed music, but I didn't realize how much it matched Dagobah so much. So what's Yoda's Hut? As part of the Dyad network, Yoda's Hut is a Tuesday night just chatting stream. So this isn't a pre-show. This isn't a precursor to any kind of live show that we do like on Fridays. It's just me hanging out with everybody in the chat. Today's topic, the sequel trilogy is not that bad. Changed my mind. And I'll show that we can have a perfectly normal conversation about it. And it doesn't need to devolve into hatred. But if you agree with me, that's even better. So, how's it going, Humble Ash, Master James Kenobi? Chase is in the chat. Hello, Chase. Sauce joined. Aw, snap. We're not about to have any blandness in this stream. It's got sauce. Some perfectly reduced sauce. How's it going, Dandalorian? Did I say Dandalorian? Sorry, Dadalorian. Aside from the topic that I've set up, which is the sequel trilogy, we can talk whatever you guys want as well. You can just let me know. Let me know. Okay, the sequels may not have bad writing or break canon, but have you considered they're woke? I have considered it, given it a lot of thoughts, and I've come to the conclusion that they are, in fact, woke. Yes, but I think Hey, Blue Eagle Gamer, thank you for joining the Dyad Squad. I appreciate your support. I think it's okay, to be honest, really. The only thing I would have liked to see is Finn's character more involved. I agree. I think that's, you know, what a lot of people feel the same way. Master James Kenobi is all in all three spaces. Right on. Appreciate the support. Which reminds me, I should probably... Can I from here? I can't from here. We'll handle it next time. Actually, I can handle it now.
Hi, Tamian.
Hello.
That's not what I wanted. I wanted to go to the dashboard. I would go further. The sequels are closer to Lucas's original vision. I think there. I mean, yeah. There's a lot of evidence to support that. If we take a look at George Lucas's original outline for Luke Skywalker, he was a recluse who was going to be approached by the next main character to get trained. And I think their original name was Kira. How's it going, Josh O'Grady? And yeah, Luke would have been a recluse, and he would have been disillusioned with the Jedi as well. So The Last Jedi was certainly very, very close to Lucas's original outline. There you go. We done it. I just modded you, Mr. James. I'm vengeful. Source. Some of it comes from the Star Wars archive books. Let me check. The source is Phil Sostak. Let me see if I can't bring this up for you guys to see. Well, no, it's too big. Phil Sostek says, my first image I made for Star Wars, The Force Awakens. This was January of 2013. Luke was being described as a Colonel Kurtz type hiding from the world in a cave. I got a George Fabuloso on it to boot. Lucasfilm design supervisor Christian Alsman. At this point in the story, 30 years after the fall of the Empire, Luke has gone to a dark place. He has always had this potential dark side within him, being that his father was Darth Vader, so he's really struggling with that. Quote, Doug Chang, May 23. He ended up secluding himself in the Jedi Temple on a new planet, and he's just there meditating, reassessing his whole life. Gradually, over the arc of the movie, he discovers his vitality and comes back to himself. How's it going, Amber? Nick and Rose says, it's obvious they should have brought all the directors and writers together to create a better cohesive trilogy. I don't disagree with that. The sequels are undeniably trash, as they don't have the great and amazing Gunji as a main cast member. Kalnaka, Gunji, or Buri? Which Wookiee Jedi do we love more? There's no room for favorites. Just waiting on this hurricane? Oh, are you in its direct path? Are you staying safe? Is everything okay? Anyone else's favorite sequel trilogy movie, The Last Jedi? Me. Nick. Me and Darth Chaco. Just to name two people. So it's not just you. How's it going, Jeep Girl? Hello, Dib Human. And yes, did all the prep today. Thanks for asking. Stay safe, Amber. TLJ is the GOAT of the sequels, in my opinion. I personally would agree. There are some people who love The Rise of Skywalker. There's some people who love the Phantom Awakens, The Force Awakens. Cal 4's favorite sequel is also The Last Jedi. Right on. Buri is my new love after getting through the amazing High Republic novels. Buri is a very special Wookiee boy. Wookiee Jedi. TLJ is my favorite sequels, and I'd put it fourth overall. It's my favorite sequel, and I put it 2 overall. But I feel like this is incredible so far, because I feel like the conversation a couple of years ago was like, if you guys remember a conversation or like a live stream a long time ago where a whole bunch of grifters were on the same call, and they were like, we can't seem to find anybody that likes The Last Jedi. And like, this whole chat's filled with people who like The Last Jedi, either like it or have it as their favorite. John Wass says, TLJ is an amazing film that took some amazing risks. I think it's one of the best Star Wars films overall. Respect. Now, of course, you don't have to like The Last Jedi. You know. It's the point I'm trying to make, is basically like, everybody has different favorites. I honestly like them all. Yeah, it makes sense. Daisy Ridley has possibly the best performance in the franchise. So I think, so even though Rey isn't in my top 10 character list, I think Daisy Ridley is definitely in my top 5 actors, because, you know, as much as I don't like The Rise of Skywalker, or I mean, The Rise of Skywalker is like low on my list. Like, the acting from Daisy in that movie was so incredible, especially when like when Kylo Ren is kind of poking and prodding at her with her parents, and she's like, I don't want this. Like, such great acting. Trying to get away from ranking, but also my top 5 are Empire, TLJ, ROTS, Rogue One, and A New Hope in that order. Interesting. I don't meet a lot of people with A New Hope in the high in their list, but respect for that. Hot take: the MG100 Star Fortress is awesome. I don't think that's a hot take. I was very young when I watched the sequel, and the hate ruins most of my enjoyment at the time. I'm sorry to hear that, Dib. I came back to the sequels and rediscovered my love for them. Well, I'm glad you did that. Because people shouldn't linger on hate too much. It's my fave from the saga, but I think Rogue One and Solo edge it out in the long run, just due to them being a standalone. I can also see that too. Which is why I typically rank the saga films separately. I rank the shows separately, and then I rank the show separately between lore and sort of like rebellion, which is how I'm able to love Ahsoka for the lore, but also love Andor for its incredible commentary. A New Hope not high in the list, really? Yeah, A New Hope's pretty low in my list. Primarily because every other freaking movie is pretty incredible. It does have the trench run, but it also has 30 minutes of C-3PO and R2 in the Dune Sea, and that's kind of a slow crawl. And if you and I spoke to Kati Cruz about this as well during our episode. Phantom Menace and A New Hope are the same movie in that there is a small victory that results in a huge celebration, like everything is over. Like, the trench run destroyed the Death Star, but the Empire is still alive and well, and they have this medal ceremony, and I feel like they're celebrating the victory of over the Empire in the first movie. And then the Phantom Menace is basically solving the conflict between the Trade Federation and Naboo, but this big celebration parade and like kind of like celebration at the end was like, oh, that's the end of all conflicts, and then the next movie is the start of the Clone Wars. So A New Hope and The Phantom Menace were huge world building movies, huge setup pieces, and then the next movies rank higher because, and I think it's largely due to those movies, but I wouldn't put it higher than those movies simply because they set up those movies, you know. But you can rank your list however you like. It's not a big deal. I think the way it was shot was amazing, and I love that Luke, even though perceived as some mythic hero, is still just a man who can make mistakes. Absolutely, that's also one of the core reasons why TLJ was really resonated with me, because it was during a time where I was kind of broken and I was kind of going through things, and seeing Luke being able to rise from that failure and kind of overcome that, it was just like a message to yourself. It's like, hey, don't worry about it, you know, pass on what you've learned, do all that good stuff. Love your videos. You are the voice of reason. Thank you, John Grisley. Did I say Gristle? Grisley. The Phantom Menace is my favorite prequel. Okay, Chase, I see you. Do you like Agatha All Along? I'm enjoying it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, or it's not my favorite Marvel show, but it's certainly interesting because I don't know anything about like the witch side of Marvel. So it's interesting to learn about all that stuff. All right. Streaming on a Tuesday night. Yeah, we're bringing back Yoda's Hut, man. We're just chatting Tuesday nights. I think celebrating the small victories is important, though. I agree. But wasn't the Death Star victory the Rebels' first major victory? Some morale boost is in order. I mean, it depends. If you think about Rogue One, wasn't that their first major victory? I mean, that was a huge battle at the end, you know. I'm not contending that they shouldn't have had a celebration. It just kind of, that's the way it read to me when I first watched A New Hope. As a child, when I was watching that, I was like, yay, they're celebrating, everything's over, they won. Things don't need to be a favorite to be fun and have a great time. Absolutely. Then even after innocence proven, she knew she needed to change it up. Oh, I feel like this is part of... Okay. And what all Ahsoka went through, she only knew war, then everyone turned their back on her. Then even after innocence proven, she knew she needed to change it up. I think that arc was... I agree with Yoda in that arc was a great trial, and she passed it. Ahsoka being able to let go of the Jedi Order, let go of that attachment, was the most Jedi thing she could ever do in that moment, and I think Yoda understood that. That's why in season 7 he's like, something to say you have, and then she says not yet. You know, I think he understands more so than anyone else that decision, because he too had a Padawan that left and came back, and when his Padawan came back, Yoda knighted him because the Padawan was able to leave and make that choice. But they didn't have time because it goes right into A New Hope, just saying. No, I agree with you guys. The Death Star was certainly a major victory to celebrate. I'll reiterate, as a child, that's how I saw it. As a child, I was like, they're celebrating like it's over, and then like the next movie came out, I was like, but I thought they won, you know, as a child. Oh wow, Yoda's Hut episode. Let's go. What's going on, Kenny? Where can I read about Yoda's Padawan? It's a book called Midnight Horizon by Daniel Jose Older. It's part of the High Republic. It's actually towards the end of Phase 1. But I think you can read it relatively unscathed, like as an isolated story if you want. Night, Jeep Girl. I recently realized that most of the Star Wars is about the Jedi and Sith lineage from Yoda and Plagueis. I mean, they're the most... Yeah. They would be the most... Well, not, I don't know about Plagueis, but Yoda is the oldest, so... He would have the most wisdom about it. My one issue with Ahsoka was everyone referred to her as a Jedi and wanting her to say, I am no Jedi. Who's everyone in this case? Have you read Alphabet Squadron Trilogy? You know, I keep saying I will, and I keep telling Chaco I will, and I haven't yet. It's difficult to go back to old books when there's so many new books coming out. But I will. I know I need to read it. I love your videos. Can I ask what are your thoughts about the bombers in TLJ? I love them. I think they're awesome. Plagueis' lineage has Chimere, Sidious, Dooku, Maul, Ventress, Savage, Vader, Snoke, Kylo. I think I'm misunderstanding, or you're misinterpreting what lineage is in this regard. Because Dooku comes from Yoda. Maul comes from Sidious. Unless this list is like sequential. Least favorite Star Wars? I think that's a tie between The Rise of Skywalker and The Phantom Menace, maybe. My bottom three is The Rise of Skywalker, A New Hope, and The Phantom Menace. I just finished a series in audiobook. I mean, I still have a lot to. I still have the Aftermath books, not the Aftermath books, the Alphabet books. We're gonna get Glass Abyss soon. Love your videos. May the force be with you, sir. Thank you, Saito Kitamura. May the force be with you too. A New Hope. How? It's quite simple, Boston. It's my personal opinion. That's how. I probably am. My Latino forgets how to English. Estoy pendejo. Yeah, I meant like sequence. You don't have to say that. Episode 2 and episode 6 are at the bottom for me. Wow. We respect people's opinions in this community, but I feel like I don't hear often Return of the Jedi at the bottom for people, so that's very interesting. Chase says you're breaking his heart, KG. Hu Yang does many times, almost expecting her to adhere to those principles. Oh. I mean, I think it's just in his programming, too. He's serving her like as if he's serving the Jedi. You also have 31 songs of the Taylor Swift album to listen to. Christy, buy me dinner first. Just kidding. I'm gonna get to it. There's so much. I have to read Glass Abyss. I have to I gotta do this stuff for you guys. I respect that. I'm just curious on what you don't like about A New Hope. I think for me, like I said earlier, A New Hope was a slow crawl. To kind of 30 minutes of C-3PO and R2-D2 in the desert. Luke wasn't particularly likable for me in that movie either until he got into an X-Wing. And overall, it's compared to the other movies, it's just the least favorite of the other, because I don't typically rank in isolation. It's comparative to their trilogies, really. KG says I especially can't stand Jabba's palace. Oh yeah. What was disappointing about that sequence in 6 is Luke could have found that the Luke versus Patissa, the Rancor, could have been a lot more than it was. You know, I feel like they rushed through that encounter. Bye, Dib. Thanks for stopping by. How likely is it that we finally get an Ewok X-Wing pilot in Mando and Grogu movie? How likely? Not likely, but always possible. Chase says Return of the Jedi is near the bottom for me. Interesting. Hey, I'm about to get hit directly by a hurricane. I don't know how I'm having dinner. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, I'll take you to dinner here. We can evac you if I had the power to do so. Least favorite is still a favorite? Absolutely, yeah. Which is how I rank movies in general. It's most favorite to least favorite. 2 and 3 are lowest of the low for me. That's Attack and Revenge. It's interesting to see someone not put Revenge high up there. That's interesting. Who was the Ewok companion in Sotor? Give us them in Mando. The Ewok companion in Sotor. I don't remember getting one. Are you talking about the Jawa? How did I forget about Treek? That's crazy. Now that I see him, I remember. I totally forgot. Incom did design the flight stick and controls of the X-Wing to accommodate hands, claws, paws, and tentacles, so it's technically possible to have an Ewok fly one. How do you design for all of those permutations? There are good moments in 6, but yeah, overall it's not on the top of the list for me. I like the back and forth with Vader, the conversation Luke has with Ben and Yoda in the final battle. I mean, it could be argued that Return of the Jedi is a pretty slow crawl too. Hot take, it has good scenes, but Rogue One is overrated. I will say I got a lot more respect for it after I watched Andor. Oh, okay. Rogue One for me started low, but each subsequent watch of Rogue One makes me appreciate it in a different light. So even though I rank the anthology films on a separate scale, it has been climbing for me. Andor helped me appreciate Rogue One in a new light. If I didn't have nostalgia for A New Hope, Rogue One would be my top film. Nostalgia plays a huge factor in a lot, you know? Couldn't stand Solo at first, but it has really grown on me over the years. I enjoy Solo. It's not gonna like break your brain. It's not gonna win an award, you know, but if you put on Solo and force me to watch it, I'm gonna be like, okay, get me some popcorn. Why is there a pattern of showing Force abilities then never using them ever again? Like Force Speed, Kylo freezing people as blaster fire? I just think in general, the use of the Force has always been very systematic, very intentional. And so, I mean, they always show telekinesis. They always show the other stuff, but these kind of like situation dependent displays is typically because they're situation dependent. Do you think Star Wars is getting oversaturated? I don't think so, but I'm also a lore master, so I kind of just like eat it all up like a sponge. And any new Star Wars is just a new entry into my lore Bible. So I'm different, but I also think you can frame that question in a way that makes sense. I think that Star Wars is getting too comfortable. And I think going back to, we need another movie. I think the movies is where Star Wars inherently lives naturally. And so kind of having all of these years go by with just TV shows has been kind of disappointing. Do you think new Star Wars is becoming more woke by project? No. Nostalgia is a big reason why TPM is in the top of half for me. It was my entry into Star Wars. That makes sense. Always thought certain abilities came easier to various Force users like Ezra with creatures and Kylo with Force freeze. So, Force freeze is telekinesis. It's just kind of like a stasis, where it's a subcategory of telekinesis, I suppose. Boston, if you think new Star Wars is becoming more woke by the project, let me know your reasons why. Original trilogy on VHS was my entry, but I have clear memories of The Phantom Menace as I was 4 when it came out. Dang. I was 16 when The Phantom Menace came out. Poe used a heavy blaster rifle with a slower moving energy bolt, making it easier to stop with the Force than deflecting from something like an A280. I mean, I feel like that makes sense. We'll just go with that. Do you think Rey's new Jedi Order will be basically Legends Luke Jedi Order? No, I don't think so. I mean, there's no possible way you can like 1-to-1, but it's called New Jedi Order, so it's essentially a canon version of it. It's just we're not gonna get Mara Jade, we're not gonna get Kyle Katarn, we're not going to get his Praxium on Yavin 4. This is a completely different timeline from when, you know, Luke's own Legends New Jedi Order started. Bonus stream, what's going on, Almond? So, shout out to Mithrellis. This is Yoda's Hut. Yoda's Hut is just a chatting stream for me to hang out with the chat and talk about Star Wars. So most of the time I'm live doing Dyad and the Force and the podcast stuff, but I don't usually have time set aside to just hang out with everybody on chat and just kind of talk. No, I mean Luke teaching in his way in Legends. I guess you could say that, but I think they're more so that they're trying to figure out a way for the Jedi to move forward and letting go of the past more than anything, instead of trying to rebuild what was, if that makes sense. You can certainly say they are more diverse than the originals, but why is that a bad thing? Well, so in that sense, Blue Eagle Gamer, I wouldn't say they're more diverse or more woke. I think that the world has changed and Star Wars has evolved with it. You know, more and more people, the storytellers are more diverse. And so it's going to reflect that regardless. And it has nothing to do with wokeness or whatever. It's just the way the world works and the way the world looks. How's it going, Anywise guy? How are you, friend? I'm good. I'm okay. Does the galaxy really need Jedis? I do not think the galaxy needs Jedi. But I do think that the Jedi can help. Hopes for Skeleton Crew? I really hope the kids don't get harassed. That's my number one hope. But I mean, I hope that they take this to they've pitched Skeleton Crew as an isolated, standalone, one season limited series. I hope that they put a nail in it at the end. And that's not to say that's the end of their stories or whatever. I just think they put a nail in the story and the plot, while leaving room for Jadna Nuwood to continue as a Jedi in other projects, or the kids to have some sort of future in another story. But I don't want to watch Skeleton Crew with the notion that I might want a season 2. And we're not going to get it. Who's the best clone in your opinion? The best clone? See, I'm not a clone person. You would have to talk to my friend Danielle or Katarina Cruz at Katari Katari Cruz, or at written in the Star Wars. But I'd say for the most part, if he counts, my favorite clone is Crosshair, even though he's kind of like the Bad Batch. Yeah, I don't care for woke, but geez, the OT had one woman in the entire galaxy until one paragraph. Mon Mothma. So yeah, more diverse is not a bad thing. Not at all. Better be me, the Republic Commando? Or are you trying to be like Rex or something? Do you want me to say Rex? Is it true Dave Filoni new movie will be Heir to the Empire, or is it all speculation? So we're not sure who's doing Heir to the Empire. We just know that Jon Favreau has written Mandalorian and Grogu to be the staging point for Heir to the Empire. So maybe Favreau is going to do it still. I'm not sure if Dave is involved in any movie thus far. At least alone. "16? I thought you were my age?" No. I'm quite wizened, I'll say. If you could make a Star Wars what if, what would it be? What if Yoda defeated Sidious? I mean, it was a stalemate, but what if like he literally deflected his lightning back at him and destroyed him right then and there? I always wonder what that would be like. And no, I don't have an answer for you, because then I'd have to kind of I'd have to let things kind of play out and simmer for a bit in my mind. I thought Heir to the Empire was going to be the Star Wars equivalent on Marvel Infinity Saga. It might be. It might, like, the building blocks might start with Mandalorian and Grogu. You know? I'm honestly bummed that if we get more Acolyte content through, it'll be books and comics. I mean, books, if you ask me, books and comics are the best medium in Star Wars. The theater of the mind and just all of the best parts of the story first. You know? But I'll always appreciate the live action stuff. In terms of Heir to the Empire being the Infinity Saga, I think that's what they're hoping it to be. I think it's going to take place over many, many, many movies. And I think Mandalorian and Grogu is just the setup of it. And then we have Ahsoka season 2, so we'll see what they do. I hope Luke will be the main focus after the Mando movie building block for the Heir to the Empire. Yeah, I did read that they were hoping to do something more with Luke. Whether it's like recasting, please recast Luke. Just recast Luke. It's over. You can't convincingly deepfake or de-age Mark anymore, and I think it's gonna be creatively stifling if they have to work around that. So I think they should just recast Luke if they're gonna do any kind of story with Luke prior to the sequels. You're not wrong. Love all the books. Really hoping they don't retcon any major things in Ahsoka season 2. I hope not. There's not much that they can retcon in that timeline, unless they go do flashbacks again. You've read all the Thrawn books. You think the Grisk will ever make it to live action? I hope they do. I think it was one of my earlier desires for the New Jedi Order for it to not be a Sith. Like, Rey's New Jedi Order needs to. So there's a couple of possibilities: the Grisk, the Ascendancy with what Thrawn is setting up, or the Mandalorians. And the way I see that happening is Bo-Katan is usurped in some way, shape, or form by someone who's trying to reignite the warrior culture. In fact, I would actually think it's a great idea for like them to do a KOTOR, but in more contemporary setting, you know? Like the Grisk and the Ascendancy, either of them, the Grisk or the Ascendancy, they're laying waste to wild space, and the Mandalorians joins the war, and there's all out war, and there's like one Jedi like Revan who is like, we need to join this war. It's do KOTOR but with Rey, and during that time, I think it can largely work. It also answers the question, does the galaxy need the Jedi, right? Because if you think about KOTOR back in the day, the Jedi had just started to recover from the Jedi Sith War, and Revan was like, we need to stop the Mandalorians. What are you talking about? Mandalore the Ultimate is wreaking havoc in the galaxy. And the Jedi were like, no, we can't afford to. We're recovering from war, and so we can't go to war. So Revan takes all of his followers, the Revanchist movement, and enters the war unsanctioned. So I think a version of that story could work in the New Jedi Order. just recast characters, just other characters just become empty. Give me a Valkyrian adjacent villain. Let me ask you something, Blue Eagle Gamer. When you saw Oscar Isaac in Dune, did that look like Valkyrian to you? Is the Star Wars KOTOR game remake still happening? Yes. Saber has confirmed that work is continuing on it. There's still no timeline on it, though. I just finished Temptation of the Force, mate. Still getting through the pain of TFS. I am going to start Phase 2 soon in all the young adult novels. Good luck. If Mark signs off on it, go for deepfake. His cameo in Book of Boba Fett was good and the tech's gotten better. I mean, as much as the tech's gotten better, it's still going to be creatively stifling to work around a deepfake. I think you'd be much better off recasting Luke and allowing the actor to express themselves and create their own Luke that can act and interact with everybody normally. Instead of trying to block out the scene, to block out the shot where you always have an optimal look at the character so you can deepfake it, optimally. Thoughts on recasting Balin Skull? I mean, I would love for Liev Schreiber to do it. There's a couple of actors that could for sure do it. But yeah, I like, don't ask me about recasting. I'm all for recasting. Like, I really don't like the idea of trying to block out shots for deepfakes. I think everything should look natural. They should recast Leia. If they really want to explore these stories, recast these characters. It's as simple as that, really. Marton Sakis? Let me look at that. Oh, this guy played Celeborn in Lord of the Rings? Yeah, I'm all for that. Do it. Do it. Recast. Yeah, man. I'd go for that. Him or Liev Schreiber. I think those two are my number one picks for recasting Balin. Ray's performance was so good, I struggle to see someone replicate it. I'm conflicted. Honestly, it's the best time to recast it because he didn't have much to perform. It was like a couple of episodes. I think the foundation that he laid for Balin Skull as a character is great. I think any good actor will be able to take what Ray established and run with it, really. Viggo Mortensen? I love Viggo, but I don't see him in the Balin Skull camp. I think Viggo is a Jedi through and through. I just don't know which one. Viggo could probably play Stellan Geos, maybe. I almost forgot what I put in here. It's kind of like what Chaco says. When you think you're going to get Coke and you taste something different, it's like, ugh. I usually have sweet tea in here. But now I have purple Kool-Aid, and it kind of took me off guard. Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Balin Skull? If Jeffrey Dean Morgan could play anyone else other than Jeffrey Dean Morgan, then I would say yes. But I feel like he plays himself in every single role. Vigo as Stellan would be great. Yeah, I love Vigo as Stellan. Sweet tea, yes. You love sweet tea? What I put in this iron flask, not sponsored, but great product. I typically do sweet tea water sweetener, 0 sugar, and 0 sugar purple Kool-Aid. Those are my 2 tops for getting hydrated. Thanks for being a positive light in the fandom. Thank you for the comment and the support. I appreciate you, Gavin. What's up, Joseph Barons? That's fair. I was so used to him as John Winchester. I watched Supernatural from the moment it aired till ended. So Chaco and I are still waiting to start season 2. But even as John Winchester, he was kind of reading as Jeffrey Dean Morgan anyway. Lord of the Rings fans haven't let Vigo rest in 20 years. I mean, that's, yeah. But you never know. Maybe Vigo wants to be a Jedi. Did you see they released the badge art for Celebrations? I have not. No, I didn't. But I bet it's nice. I bet it's artsy. RDJ as Balin? Cause no. Do you think Star Wars has that kind of money? They can't be spending 60% of a budget on one actor. And no, I don't think RDJ matches Balin's disposition. I know RDJ is an actor, but like, just don't see it. I see RDJ more as like a Ransom Casterfo from Bloodlines. He's definitely a politician in Star Wars. Or a really, really, really conceited pilot. He's also a foot shorter than Rey. He is pretty short, isn't he? Hey, thanks for subbing, Dave. They didn't announce who it's going to be, right? I like Gerard Butler for Balin. They haven't announced it yet. Brendan Fraser with some makeup? Maybe? I don't know. right now, uh, right now it's Liev Schreiber or Martin Costas. Koskis. Gotta at least try to get the eye line right. Do you think we need Rael Averroes content? Maybe a short film? Listen. Everything about Star Wars is not a matter of need. It's a matter of want. And do I want a Rael Averroes series, film, episode? Yes. If it's live action, Nick Offerman should play him. Other than that, give us an animated, like, Tales of, you know? No, this is serious. Cillian Murphy for Balin. I don't see it. You might see it, you know, but I don't see it. Hey Pep, do you think they will continue Plagueis and Chimere story even if it's not Acolyte 2? I think if it's not Acolyte Season 2, it is for sure that story and a different name. But right now, I don't really have much confidence in them touching that for a while. Get Russell Crowe in Man of Steel shape. Martini, man. You gotta stop naming names. You just gotta land on one. Just kidding. Should Daniel Davis come back for Plagueis? Unsure. I think Plagueis should be voiced by Morgan Freeman. Could you imagine? Sidious or Palpatine's like, I would love to learn how to resurrect people, Master. And he's just like, you need more patience, Sheev. When I want to resurrect those that I love, it'll take time and a lot of force power. I mean, I can't really do I can't do a Morgan Freeman. Hey, thanks for the follow, Average Cam. It's insane to introduce Plagueis and then just leave it. Also, it's Gerard Butler for Balin, surely. Man, y'all love I love casting too. Fan casting is one of the more interesting kind of pastimes for sure in any fandom. After I escaped Shawshank prison, I became a Sith Lord. And then I rode the bus to meet wherever Darth Andy was. And when I found Darth Andy, he was happy, working on his speeder, making sure that we had a future in front of us. I love Morgan Freeman, but can he really sound sinister? Sounds like God to me. I mean, listen, just get Morgan Freeman and like modulate the voice. His voice with effects on it would be amazing. What Star Wars story do you want them to make a show or trilogy about the most? I think that I think now is the time to go Old Republic, in my opinion, to be quite honest. And I would probably do I'm just biased right now. I really want a show or a movie about Satil Shan. What's your favorite Star Wars book, canon and legends? Canon canon would have to be Fallen Star. And Legends would have to be Fatal Alliance. I'm a huge Old Republic head. Arnold Terminator, so fun to hear. Oh geez. See how would that go? Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Yes, he lives in California. He lives in California, and then we have these after-school programs that we do. I can't do Arnold. Late ciao. I think we deserve the life of Darth Babe and how he went about creating the rule of two. Darth Bane, yeah. We can have a Tales of the Sith like that too. Peace out. Hope you have a good night. Have a good night, Mithralis. Temptation of the Force has become a new fave for me, but Kenobi novel sits on top for Legends, but I'm biased. Yeah, I'm actually kind of hoping that Glass Abyss kind of goes hard and gives favorite book a challenge for me. Am I the only one that prefers canon Thrawn trilogy to the excellent Legends one? I don't think so, but I mean, I do too, honestly. Which trilogy? Right, because you have Thrawn Alliance and the third one, and then you have Chaos Rising trilogy. Sorry for inundating you. I'm so keen on hearing what you think Ezra's next adventure is. I think Ezra's next adventure is trying to stop Thrawn with whatever Thrawn is doing with on Dathomir, to be honest. Average Cam says, I think Tales of the Sith would be a great place to introduce some Old Republic lore and Sith, then go into something live action. I agree. I mean, for Star Wars to do anything substantial with any Tales of the Sith is to be in a timeline where there is Sith to explore, right? I mean, other than exploring like past stories of Maul or past stories of Ventress and past stories of Sidious, you'd have to go to a time where the Sith were actually prevalent to begin with. Do you think Thrawn will die or escape back to the Ascendancy? I don't see them killing off Thrawn. At least not now. Thwarted? Maybe beat back into the Ascendancy, like with his tail between his legs, but I don't think he's gonna be killed off. He's a lasting villain for me. The canon Thrawn trilogy is great, same with the prequels, a very interesting exploration of the Chiss and the unknown regions. The canon Thrawn books are much more joined up and logical, added to the Rebels Thrawn. It's perfect. It does line up very well with Rebels Thrawn. There's some kind of characteristic disconnects, but as with all things within this canon, it's a lot more consistent than Legends canon was. Legends canon or Legends continuity was just a whole bunch of authors stepping on each other's toes, and there really wasn't a story group that could keep them in line. What's your prediction for Ahsoka and Sabine? I think they're going to find some ancient Jedi ruins. And I think they're going to learn more about the world between worlds. Do you think Barriss is done? I don't think so. But if he doesn't die, where is he in the sequel trilogy? Probably in Ascendancy space. The unknown regions. I'm unsure about the Chiss lifespan as well. But I do know that like their Osilius Ahembos or their Skywalkers, they typically, unless I'm getting this wrong, because my recall of that specific piece of lore is a little shaky, whether they lose their sensitivity early or they're forced to stop using it, which affects their connection. But it'd be interesting to find out how long Chiss live, actually, to be honest. I hope Disney manages to avoid Lu'uk. I hope Disney manages to avoid Lu'uk. Triclops. I hope they avoid a lot of. I think they've been doing a good job of taking what works in Legends and canonizing it. I think that's the best kind of approach so far. Do you think these ancient ruins could connect to the Dawn of the Jedi movie? Yeah. Ever since Ahsoka season 2 came out, I've always thought that the takeaways from the show would eventually lead to Dawn of the Jedi, or an exploration of antiquity, or the exploration of ancient times for the Jedi, just so that they can have that breadcrumb trail. I think I think it fades around their early 20s. That's what I am understanding, but I don't know if it's something that happens naturally or is a byproduct by how they use their ability. Do you know what I mean? Because Obi-Wan loses his connection after like 19 years, and has to train really hard to get it back. Oh god, I forgot about Triclops. We're never going to forget about Triclops. Or the Cult of Waru. One thing I've always wondered, what is the basis for the droid bigotry we see in A New Hope? It's inherently it's inherent in society. I think for the most part, it comes with everything that people don't understand. I think it was a stand-in, really, for bigotry in general. We don't serve their kind, you know? Sorry, I'm on a temp phone, Pep. It's so annoying. You're on a temp phone. I don't recognize the PFP because it's so small to me right now. But I was wondering why you were calling me Pep. The Prophets of the Dark Side was rough. I think the Lost Tribe of the Sith was rough. I genuinely can't wait to see how the Rey film is done. She's brilliant, and it's a totally new era. And I think that's largely where we need to go from now on. There's 3 things that need to happen with Star Wars moving forward. I went from this to this. Stories away from the Skywalker saga. Stories that do not have any implications for the Skywalker saga, and stories that are in the movie theaters. Right? They need to go back to the movies, and they need to stop putting things in that is a callback to the Skywalker saga, and they need to tell a story that is so far removed from the Skywalker saga that we can't even sniff Rey's fart and be like, oh, that's the Skywalker. No, I'm just I'm tired. I'm tired of everyone calling back to Anakin for all of these projects, for everything. It's tiring. I mean, like, Anakin's not the most special thing to ever happen in the galaxy. He's not the only thing to happen in the galaxy, and it'll never be that way. The galaxy is wide, the time is vast, and there will be people, special stories that live alongside, parallel to, and in tandem with Anakin's tale. So when people consume new stories and they're like, oh, but this cheapens Anakin's story, it's like, no, it doesn't. It's its own story. Like, Anakin was special. He had his own story. Let's move on. Do we know when Skeleton Crew takes place? It is... Oh, well, Master James just answered it. 5 years after the Battle of Endor. Lee Norsworthy. Gotcha. No, I remember your name now. I just don't remember Natsa. The current name. And, like, the profile pictures are so small right now. It honestly looks like just some person's head wearing a half moon headpiece that goes like this. That's how it looks on my screen. I can't make out too much. Anakin had 9 movies and a series of shows and comics. He still has comics. I mean, Darth Vader is the most iconic silhouette, the most iconic symbol in all of Star Wars, and I think the Skywalker saga can be special in its own way, and I think every time something new comes out, like if in New Jedi Order they find another child or another person with a virgins, that's great. It has nothing to do with Anakin. It's been how many odd years? 45 years. Let it go. Do you think any High Republic novels will get made into movies? If I were to pick a novel that had the best chance to translate well into a movie, I would pick Light of the Jedi. Just being honest with you. Because then, when we get that, we naturally would have to go into the other books. So it's like the best case scenario. Every effing project, people go on about Anakin because they misunderstood prequels. Anakin had 6 movies, all of Clone Wars. He's in Rebels. He's the main antagonist in Obi-Wan, etc., etc. I just feel like people think that it's not possible to be big fans of Anakin unless he is made to be the only special thing in Star Wars. But like, my favorite character is Satele Shan, and aside from a few campaign quests in SOTOR, aside from a few books, there's not much on Satele Shan. And I don't need her to be the most specialist and the center of attention. You know, Chaco's favorite Jedi is Plo Koon, and he's not at the center of everything. So I feel like when people want to keep this elevation of Anakin's spirit on a pedestal, it's tiring. Like, great, I don't care if you love Anakin, and I love that you love Anakin, but not every single story, 45 years, 100 years, 200 years, 1,000 years into the future or the past, none of those stories is going to change how special he was in the context of the saga. You forget the Force only exists because it needed to create Anakin. No, the Force exists The Force exists without Anakin. Chosen one doesn't mean the only powerful one or the most powerful one ever in all time. Yeah, chosen one is, in a literary sense, chosen one is a title of purpose, not a title of power. Right? Harry Potter was not the most powerful wizard, but it was his purpose. What other chosen ones are there? Frodo. Frodo was the most unassuming, most diminutive character in Lord of the Rings. And it was purpose. His purpose was to destroy the One Ring. You know? Worst Best Gamer 06, thank you for helping me look at the Acolyte in a new light. I didn't hate it, but it was okay. I mean, it doesn't matter if you hated it, you know? For me, I make content not to convince people to like things. I make content to honestly talk about Star Wars, because like if I spent my time trashing Star Wars and just talking about all of the hatred, essentially I turn into a channel that's not talking about Star Wars. And what does that get me? It's not really a recipe for happiness, you know? So like I accept that some people don't like the Acolyte, and that's okay. But I'm glad that you were able to see it in a new light, you know? It's always a cathartic feeling. That's what I get with Rogue One. Every time I rewatch it, it just climbs higher on my list. The toxic aspect of the fandom has gotten so far out of the sandbox that it is thoroughly confusing. I mean, at this point, their motivations have nothing to do with Star Wars at this point. Their motivations is clearly monetary or agenda driven. Because if you think about this entire stream that we just did, our conversations talking about Star Wars, I've said the word woke 4 times reading questions. Because we're able to talk about Star Wars. We're not, and so like I feel like for that crowd hears more about wokeness from their grifters than they do from the woke crowd, essentially. The crowd that's supposed to be this thing. The boogeyman, as it were. Like, how many videos are you going to watch from them in a week that mentions that word? And how many videos do you watch from this community where that word is never said? It's the kitchen feeding you fake food. You feel hungry. I mean, you feel full. You feel well fed, but your spirit is still starving. Having seen cult stuff firsthand, the witch cult chant stuff was spot on. I mean, it might have been spot on, but it was still kind of cringy, right? The power of many. This is why, I mean, like, and that's not, I'm just kind of having fun with it. Like, it is kind of cringy. I'm used to seeing like witch stuff like in Latin, you know? Which I don't know how that came to be, right? A lot of like spells, just like from the Harry Potter sense, from Agatha all along sense, from a lot of like just in general fantasy stories, they use Latin as the base for like spells. I just love your content. I appreciate you, Jess. My favorite was always Luke, then Revan. Now it's firmly Kanan for me. Best Jedi. Kanan's a great choice. Star Wars Theory might as well just be a pro-Trump political channel because he never talks about Star Wars legitimately. I don't know what to think of him anymore. So when I watched Theory back in the day, he made Theory videos. He talked about Star Wars. He speculated, and he loved the sequels. I know that clip is going around, and I'm familiar with it. I watched him when he did that. But when we say Theory has changed, it's because of the way he talks about Star Wars now, coupled with the fact that he deleted those clips. So not only did he love the sequels, he deleted those clips to hide his authentic feelings. And now his content is just to drive clicks. That's what we mean when we say he's changed. It's cringy in real life too, though, in all fairness. It is, yeah. I don't... Who would you cast as live action Asajj Ventress? I had this cast before. Who did I cast? Am I going to have to look this up? I casted Asajj so much that I did like a Photoshop version. Average Cam says, totally agree with you on that. Love your content because it is about Star Wars, not about the hate or the money. It's just a genuine passion for Star Wars, and I love what you do. I appreciate that, Average Cam. Thank you for the follow. And that's what it's all about. We just wanna talk about Star Wars. Like, as much as they say keep politics out of Star Wars, like they're not doing a really good job of keeping it out. You know, that's all they talk about. A new show could come out and I'll make a video and be like, oh, this is what this character did. This is the decisions they made. This is how the story's going. And all they talk about is identity politics. That's what they're talking about. So I'm just like, who's the one keeping politics in Star Wars? That's all I'm saying. Like, this community talks about Star Wars. Oh yeah, who would you cast as the live action Asajj? I'm trying to think. I did a Photoshop version of it, but I'm thinking Shawnee Smith, who's best known as Amanda Young from the Saw movies. I'm honestly not a good follower of the Saw movies. Going to bed, man. It's late here. Take care, brother. Appreciate you, Lee. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out. Would you like to see a military power in Rey film? Either revitalize New Republic or something else? That's tough, man. That's a tough one. I do think that something has to rise from the ashes of the Rise of Skywalker. Whether or not I think that's a New Republic or something different, I don't really have an answer for. But I do know that the Mandalorians something needs to happen with the Mandalorians. I'm just surfing through all of my Photoshops because I know I had someone picked to play Asajj Ventress, and I did a Photoshop version. Did I? Or is that a different character? Oh wait. Yes. My pick for Asajj Ventress is Deacon Lockman. Now, let me see if I can actually pull up a picture. Unless you guys know who Deacon Lockman is. All right, let's see. Let's see if this works. Nope, that's not the picture. Which one is it? This one. Okay, I need to change this one. Gotcha. All right. This one? Deacon Lockman? I mean, I just think her facial structure would just look awesome. But I will, you know, I'll take any other castings to be, you know, fair. Is this spooky Star Wars music? No, this is spooky lo-fi music, though. Is it possible for Asajj to be alive during the sequels, like from a lifespan point of view? Yes. Especially if her return had anything to do with Night Sister revivification. I actually did another. I did another photo. I don't know how much it translates, but we'll do it anyway. All right, let's do this. Wink. And I'm imagining like the post Bad Batch Asajj, you know, where she has the short hair. Hey, how's it going, Batosai the Manslayer? Long time no see. But you said Shawnee Smith. Where's she? Oh, from Saw. You said from Saw. I was like, where? She looks familiar. She's played something else. I've seen her in something else other than Saw. Haven't I? Interesting. She looks so familiar. I might have seen one or two Saws in my day. Who knows? But it just looks like there's like Becker, the Blob, and Armageddon, and then a whole bunch of Saws. Yeah, I have not been able to participate, but still constantly watching your good content. I have a question. Go for the question. Hey, Blue Wheel Gamer, thanks for the subscription on the TikTok as well. Appreciate you, man. We are back. I had some things to pack for my move coming up. Where are you moving? Do you think a full happy ending a la Return of the Jedi is mandatory to bring the saga full circle and to heal the tragedy of the Skywalker family? I think so. And it's why I think episode 9 or episode 10, 11, and 12 are coming. Ben Solo returning, and hopefully Rey and Ben build a family and the saga has a definitive ending like Lord of the Rings. So I don't think a happy ending a la Return of the Jedi is mandatory. What I think you possibly want is an epilogue. But I don't think we need 3 more movies to build an epilogue. I think we can actually get an epilogue from the very beginning of the New Jedi Order. Like spend the first 10 minutes kind of quote-unquote epiloguing the aftermath of episode 9. Back home to Southern California? Right on. We should hang out sometime. Go to Scum and Villainy. Out of curiosity, have you tried Star Wars Unlimited? What is Star Wars Unlimited? I know Marvel Unlimited. Honestly, this has been great, guys. First Yoda's Hut in I don't know how many years. I will be ending this stream in about 12 minutes. It is getting late on the East Coast. And I also have to do dinner and stuff. But before you guys leave, of course, this will be a weekly thing. We may have guests on to just hang out as well. But Yoda's Hut is officially a thing. It's just chatting. So we just come here to hang out and talk Star Wars, really. It's a new trading card game that came out this year from Fantasy Flight in the same vein as Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic. Community is great so far and the game is so fun. Interesting. I'll have to look into it because I love Hearthstone. I was an MTG kid growing up, and I love Kessel Sabak in Outlaws. So I'll be interested to see what kind of system this is. Star Wars Unlimited. Is it like an app? Is it a game, or is it an actual TCG? Physical card game. Wait, you East Coast or West Coast? I'm West Coast. I'm in LA. Okay. Denzel Green is a real cool creator that you might click with if you're looking for guests. I mean, guests can show up from anywhere, really, if they really want to. We've been trying to get Denzel Green on the live show Dyad in the Force on Fridays for a while. We just need our schedules to line up. Actual TCG, but there's an unofficial online version, kind of. No tutorials on it yet. Really interesting to learn, though, in my opinion. I might give it a shot. I might look into it. Appreciate the suggestion. I see what you mean, but to be honest, ROTJ is such a perfect ending from so many perspectives, and the original 6 formed like a circle between the movies, like Hero's Journey. 1 to 3 is the descent. 4 to 6 is the something. The ascent. And bigger hero circle could be complete with 12 episodes. The last of each trilogy marks the open of the next plot. Well, I mean, to be fair, the first 6 was, in fact, George Lucas's full story to begin with. Right? He didn't really have a plan for the sequel trilogy. It was only in like the mid 2010s when people were clamoring for more Star Wars that he had expressed that he started writing outlines for possible stories to explore. And so I think what Disney did when they purchased it is they opted to kind of create a final chapter from it. So while I agree that 6 has a perfect ending, I don't think 7, 8, and 9 need the same kind of ending. But, you know, if you do, that's fine. I only know LA is West Coast from the Fallout games. How do you know that? Come on now. Los Angeles is West Coast. You don't need a game to tell you that. Blue Eagle Gamer. His sequel plans were basically Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money. Well, if you follow the timeline of his interviews leading up to like the 2010s, every time he is asked, he says, "No, the story is 1 through 6. That's the full story. Like 6 is the ending. It's the story of Anakin's fall and redemption. It's the story of his children saving him. That's it." And then, you know, by the time 2012 rolled around, he was floating around ideas of like the microbiotic world of the midichlorians, and then he started writing outlines for the sequel trilogy because he knew that he was selling out to Disney. And so when Disney finally bought out Lucasfilm, he gave them those outlines as like hey, these are my ideas, these are my suggestions. Disney decided to go with their own story. And even then, after they decided to not use his outlines, he still approved a lot of the sequels. Like when Sostak tells the story of one of the production designs, and he's telling the story of how Luke was a recluse and he's reevaluating himself. Like George was like, "That's right on. That's what I think should happen." So as much as silent as Lucasfilm is, as silent as George Lucas is, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that he was either involved or consulted, and he's on the set for a lot of the TV shows. So it's not like they're kind of like, they're not doing what the grifters claim they're doing, you know. his opinion is still highly regarded, especially from Filoni. Agreed, and the door will always be open to him to visit sets and to kind of provide his input. But like I said, Lucasfilm's the one that owns the IP. They can do whatever they want with it. And I think it's just a lost cause to kind of try to latch on to this concept or this idea of a George Lucas Star Wars. Ewoks issue 1 is out? I didn't even know Ewoks was getting a comic. Jeez. I do understand, Bethos, I do understand what you mean by 10, 11, 12 completing the clock. I'm going to be honest with you. I just don't want another trilogy. I almost turned into Keanu Reeves. I don't want another trilogy. I want Trinity. I feel like trilogies for the most part are creatively bankrupt. I think trying to fit a story into a prescribed length is hasty. I think a story needs to either be as short as it needs to be or as long as it needs to be. And I think starting with the length itself is it's burdensome creatively. I think you need to write the story from beginning to end and then pare it down or lengthen it as much as you need to. But I don't think you start with this is going to take place in 3 movies and then you start writing the story. I think the story needs to be complete. They need to finish the story before they figure out how many movies it's going to be. Because, it's the same thing with, Lord of the Rings. It's the same thing with Harry Potter. If... they took, 2 parts to tell, one book because... Of course, they wanted to kind of milk it and get more cash out of it. But, telling one book in 2 parts is kind of... gives you a little bit more room to breathe. You know what I mean? And so even with Lord of the Rings, they did the Hobbit book in 3 movies. But it's an antiquated thing. It's antiquated thinking. The trilogy format or the quadology format. I just think if I'm going to sing praises to Marvel for one thing, is that they created the notion that it's going to take as many movies as it takes to tell a saga. So what? They had 20 movies until Endgame? And for the most part, it was a largely successful payoff. But it's kind of like when I say that you can't do The Old Republic in 3 movies. In the same way, I think you can't do Deceived in 1 movie. You can't do Fatal Alliance in 1 movie. You can't do the Darth Bane books in 3 movies. You can't do the Plagueis novel in 1 movie. I think it just needs to be written from start to finish, and then you figure out from there how many movies you need. I don't know if you answered, but when are these streams happening every now and then? Yoda's Hut is every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific. And then our main show, our flagship show, Dyad in the Force, will be Fridays at 5 p.m. Pacific. And Yoda's Hut is just chatting, just like today. And we might have Chaco on, we might not. We might have another guest on, whoever wants to come on, but it's our hangout session. Which reminds me, it is now 7 p.m. It is the end of this Yoda's Hut. Just to let everybody go and have their dinners, their nights back. I want to thank everybody: Adventure Cam, Master James, Average Cam, Master James, Cal4 on the Twitch, Batosai, Nick, Blue Eagle Gamer, Master James on YouTube, Base Model, Craig McGuinn, Eric. Y'all are great. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chatting. Always fun talking about Star Wars with everybody. You know, I named this stream the Sequel Trilogy Isn't Trash. Changed my mind, and nobody tried. And I don't know what that says, but I'm glad everybody seems to have varying opinions on Star Wars, varying opinions on the sequel trilogy, and I was largely correct. Star Wars fans aren't all one big monolith that loves all of the same movies in the same order and in the same ranking. But we'll be back on Friday with the Dyad in the Force pre-show starting at 4:30 p.m. And then we will have at 5 p.m. the main show starts. And we'll be joined by Sawyer so that we can surround her with love and support. But that'll do it for this one. Thanks for hanging out, guys. We'll see you on Friday for Light and Life. We are all the Republic. And may the Force be with you.